What's up, guys? Today I wanted to talk about the topic of FANG, and this isn't something that I really address too often on my channel. I obviously help you guys prepare for these different tech interviews, whether it's at FANG or smaller startups or companies you've never heard of. But I haven't really talked about FANG too much, and so I kind of wanted to take today to talk about FANG, and more specifically what I think you kind of might miss out on by not working at a FANG company. So if you guys have been following my channel for a little while, you guys are probably aware of the fact that I graduated from NYU in 2017. And since then, really, for the first few years of my career, I've really just been working at smaller companies and startups. And so I thought it might make sense to kind of give my 2 cents as to what you might actually miss out on if you guys are still in school or you guys are job hunting now by not working at a FANG company, right? I think there's a lot of trade-offs between working at a FANG company or a larger company in general than working at a startup, right? It's not that one is better than the other necessarily, but I think that you are definitely going to have two different experiences depending on which route you kind of choose to take. And so because of that, I think I just wanted to take the flip side or the opposite side of the route that I've kind of been going down and talk about why I think actually working at FANG matters, right? Why do you want to work at a larger tech company or just a larger company in general, specifically FANG, and what are the things that you're going to get out of working at that FANG company as opposed to working at a smaller company or a startup. So I think the first point and probably the most obvious point of why you should or why working at a large FANG company matters is just the job stability that you'll have and the compensation that you'll receive. So now kind of contrasting this with my own experience over here working at startups, again, if you guys have been following my channel, you guys know that actually the first job I had out of college, I was laid off from. And that was a startup company, and I wasn't upset about it. You guys could, check out more about it in this video that I'll link here. But that's not what I had, right? I didn't have job stability. I didn't work at a place like Amazon where, chances are they have thousands and thousands of developers and your job is pretty secure as long as you can actually do your job. For me, what ended up happening is it's not anything I did, but I joined the company about 6 months before I got laid off. And we didn't have any capital as a company, and we didn't have enough money to keep moving forward, and the company wanted to have more roadmap, so they decided to lay off about, I think it was around like 15 people or something, which was just about half the company at the time, to make sure that they had more runway and could survive longer. So again, right there is the opposite ends of the spectrum, right? If you work at Amazon, you could do your job, you're probably going to keep your job. If you're working in a startup, and even if you can do your job and you're doing a good job, it might not be guaranteed that you can keep that job, right? There are other factors like capital and things that are going on in the market that you can't really control. And then in terms of compensation, right, if you work over here at Amazon, they probably don't have a problem paying you potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars as an engineer because they're a $1 trillion company, right? Whereas if you're at a startup, you might not even receive what the market rate is for a software engineer or a PM or a designer or whatever your role actually is, right? That is not a company that is worth $1 trillion. They're going to try and entice you with other things like stock options. Maybe there's a small signing bonus. Maybe there's great benefits at the company, but they can't really match up in terms of the compensation that you're going to receive at one of these FANG companies a lot of times. Right, and then on top of your actual base salary, there's other components that make up packages for different FANG companies, right? Some of which, and this is not even including all the things I'm sure, but some of the things that you're going to have that make up your compensation is your base salary, your signing bonus, your RSUs or your restricted stock units, which is effectively the stock of the company, right? So for Amazon, I'd receive stock options that I vest over a certain amount of time, which all it means is that after a certain amount of time, they'll give me a certain amount of shares. You'll have things like an end of year bonus as well as a signing bonus. In terms of the startup life, you're going to get some sort of base salary, maybe you'll get some sort of signing bonus, and then you don't get RSUs or restricted stock units, right? Because the company isn't public. You're going to get things called stock options, which means that here's a lottery ticket, basically. We think that the stock is evaluated at X now, and no one's publicly trading it, right? You can't buy and sell shares of the stock on the market. But we're hoping that when we go public or when we get bought out, you will effectively own, maybe it's 3% of the company. Whatever the company sells for, you're kind of going to get that worth. So that's a little bit about, I think, just general job stability and compensation that you'll get at a place like Amazon or any other FANG company like Facebook, Google, etc. Whereas if you work at a startup, it looks very different, right? Job stability isn't guaranteed. And in terms of your compensation, there's a hard chance that it's not really going to line up. I think the next point of why you should probably work at a FANG company is really just the prestige. And I'm not talking about really like the vanity of like, oh, I work at Google, or you could tell your old coworkers or people will think X, Y, and Z of you because you're so smart and you work at Facebook. It's more of the fact that I think really working at a FANG company is really just like a golden stamp of approval. And what I mean by that is if you actually work at Facebook and you can prove that you do good work and that they like you as an employee and that they're paying you at X rate and you are enjoying the company, I think then it's pretty easy and it's pretty transferable to then go to a place like Google and say, hey, I worked at Facebook. I worked there for 3 years. I got promoted twice. They love me, right? Chances are if you did well at Facebook, you're going to do well at Google. Chances are if you do well at a place like Amazon, you're going to do well at a place like Apple. And I think if you can just prove that one time on your resume, like working at Google and then wanting to work at a place like Facebook or any of the other FANG companies, I think that companies won't have a problem sort of bringing you on, right? I kind of feel like, truthfully, the hiring bar might be lower because they know or are biased towards your past experience. So what I mean by this is that once I think you get into this sort of club or this inner circle that is FANG, I think it's pretty easy and pretty transferable to actually then go and work at other potential employers, right? So I think if you're currently a software engineer at Google and you want to go work at Facebook, that's probably way easier to do than if you weren't a software engineer at Google first. And I've actually heard stories from people who are on the inside, people who are inside of FANG, that have told me that literally, someone might be at Google, say that they want to go and leave Facebook, and Google won't be upset. Google will say, go ahead, we hope you like it. And then the person who goes to Facebook within a year doesn't like it. They come back to Google, they tell them that, and Google just hires them. They don't even make them re-interview, right? They already know the work. Chances are that they are happy with what they did, and they're happy for them to come back, and they don't hold any grudges for you deciding to leave the company. And that's just kind of crazy to me, right? I feel like working at these large tech companies or these FANG companies is really just a giant stamp of approval, right? And once you get that stamp, chances are you can move anywhere else within the circle pretty easily. So I think that's definitely another reason why working at FANG definitely matters, right? I think if you can set yourself up for success and really work at one of those places and get that golden stamp of approval early in your career, I think you're really leveling up where you can go in the places that you could be at and the performance that you can have at all these other different companies. I think that getting that stamp of approval by one of those companies really opens the floodgates in terms of where you can go from there within the circle. I think another huge benefit of working at these different FANG companies is having all this different talent around you, right? I think that specifically having a mentorship program is absolutely incredible. And I don't experience that at the startups that I've been at so far. And what I mean is that I think it's really invaluable to have someone who might be, might have 15 years of experience, who might be a staff engineer at Google, and they can tell you, like, these are things that I think you should do in your career. These are things that I think you're not doing super well and you should work on. These are things that you are doing well, right? As well as just different career advice. I think you could talk to someone who's like a staff engineer who might be your mentor, and then they can actually tell you, like, oh, you're interested in managerial roles. Like, you should definitely try and pick up these different skills or read this book or check out this blog or whatever it might be. I think it's super invaluable to literally have someone who could basically look back and say, if I were you, I would do these things to progress further in your career or to pursue the things that you're interested in at the best of your ability. I think my last point, and probably the most important point in my opinion of why you should work at FANG, is really just you're going to learn how to develop software the correct way. And what I mean by that is a place like Google or these other FANG companies, they know how to design software, right? They know how to write applications. They know how to ship products. This is what they do. And they know how to do it for millions or even billions of people. And if you work at a place like Google, you're going to learn how to write well-defined structured code. You're going to learn how to review code. You're going to learn how to design systems at scale for millions or billions of users. You're going to learn how to use different design patterns within a code base. Whereas on the other side at startups, I don't think there's as much of an emphasis about how to build things correctly or how to build things that necessarily scale, right? Especially depending on the size of the startup. Let's say you only have 5,000 customers. You don't need to write an API that will scale for millions of concurrent users, for example. And so I think over here at a startup, the focus is way more on shipping a product. It's way more on releasing a feature to a customer. It's way more on just getting things done. I feel like it's a lot more of you kind of build the plane as you fly. Whereas at a company that's within FANG, everything is defined, everything is structured, and you're really going to have the tools and the knowledge base around you to actually develop software the correct way or whatever the industry thinks is the best way at that moment. All right, guys, so that's all I have for you today. Again, those are the reasons why I think working at Fang matters. If you guys want to leave your own reasons why you think working at Fang matters, like free food or nap pods, I'd love to hear it in the comments below. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more, and I'll see you guys next time.
Pull up on your block and I bleed it. Slide, phone drop something, I can't leave it. Walk got me cold, but the check got him leaning. Never let the beat get cold, it's a meeting. Pull up on your block and I bleed it. Slide, phone drop something, I can't leave it. Walk got me cold, but the check got him leaning.